Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Howard Kaye. Welcome to the Die Rich podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kaye, and this is our debut show. It's very exciting. Why? Because our first guest on Die Rich, the podcast, is my son, Sammy Kaye. Sammy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dad. It's great to be here.
I love hearing that, Dad. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a dry run last week. Hopefully, many of you caught that show. But the purpose of Die Rich, the podcast, is really all about living and dying rich and what it means to us. Many of you are familiar with our company, Howard Kaye Insurance, originally Barry Kaye Associates, which was started over 58 years ago, 59 years ago now. Unfortunately, my father, Barry Kaye, had passed away this past year along with my mother due to COVID. But the legacy lives on. I came into the business at a young age of 18 years old, as did my brother and sister, actually. So it was really a family business. And I'm so excited because now I've got the next generation. My oldest, Sammy Kaye, has joined us since last August. He made a complete 360 as far as a career change and really what he realized he was passionate about, what he wanted to do. So we're going to talk to Sammy today about his choice, why he did what he did, what it means to him to be successful, and most importantly, to discuss his niche, who he is really speaking to, people of his age group, and the importance of what life insurance means, why people should listen to the words, the wisdom that Sammy has gained in just such a very short period of time. But before we get into that, let me start with the mantra of our show, which I like to do each week. However, this is our first show, so it really hasn't been done each week. But Die Rich, the podcast, it's all about life. The life that you live, the life that you leave, those that you love and care about most. It's an important sentiment. All we have in life, truly, is our family. They're the most cherished possessions that we know. And I'm sure you will all agree with me that you will do anything to protect, to love, to cherish, and to make sure that your family's lifetime is as wonderful as it can possibly be. So having said that, giving you kind of the framework of what the show theme really is with respect to life and love, Sammy Kaye, welcome. Share with us this new journey. How did you get here? What made you come? And I can only tell you from a father's standpoint, there is nothing that makes me more proud than walking into the office every day, seeing your beautiful smiling face and knowing that you want to make a difference in people's lives.
Well, thanks, Dad. Yeah, this is just what a great thing to be a part of. I've been exposed to Die Rich my whole life. I've been in the insurance business my entire life without actually being in the insurance business, as ironic as that sounds. Once I graduated from school, I decided to start my own business with the entrepreneurial blood that is running through my veins from my grandfather and you. I decided to start a business with one of my close friends. It was a great concept, great learning experience. We started this gift card app called Gwick, where you can buy and send digital gift cards, and it was terrific. My close friend and I, right when we graduated, we took on this journey, ran with it for three or 4 years, and then I decided to go into the acting world, where I followed my passion, which has been I've always loved movies. I've loved acting, so I took that route. But obviously, with COVID happening, it was a pretty big problem with production and whatnot. So
it wasn't being done. There was no production, nothing.
Yeah, there was nothing being done. So I was trying to figure out a way how I can use my skill set or my passion of getting in front of the camera or being in front of people. How can I use that, not only help people, but also be successful at doing that? So I thought about life insurance. My grandfather was so successful in marketing, and so are you, at just conveying the message of how important life insurance is. And not only that, it was the family aspect, how well it worked for our family and how close our family is. I thought, what better way to be with my family than to join the family business, to continue the legacy? I mean, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur with the business I started, and then me going into the acting. It's that entrepreneurial mindset. And now I have the opportunity to fill in those shoes, to fill in those big shoes that my grandfather started. With him unfortunately passing, it was honestly like a no-brainer for me. I wanted to continue the legacy. I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And this also gives me an opportunity to be with you, and also to try. Both of you guys have been so successful in the business. I only want to do that, if not be more successful than both of you, which I know is going to be hard to do.
You will do it. You will get there.
But this is definitely a passion of mine, especially with the opportunity of being with my family. So I couldn't be more excited.
Well, you brought up some interesting points. I know you've always had a passion for the movies, for being on camera, for being in front of the whole room. You were the kid that would walk in a room and just light it up, and people knew Sammy Kaye was there. They didn't always know it was Swing and Sway with Sammy Kaye. That's for the old timers. But
Right.
Nevertheless, yes, you lit up that room. But what's interesting when we talk about marketing and all is, my father started back in 1962. But prior to that, my father was in show business. He was a big disc jockey out of Pittsburgh and New York. And many of you may remember the old group, the Dell Vikings, Come and Go With Me. Dum, 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 doo, dum, dum. Anyway, that was his group he founded, recorded them, played them all over the radio, and he became a very big disc jockey. Well, after Jack Parr retired from The Tonight Show and Johnny Carson got it, my father didn't. They took all the top NBC jockeys. He decided, you know what? He was going to get out of radio, get out of show business, and he went into the stock market. But what happened? Everything got lost. Someone offered him a job selling life insurance. Now, he was a natural-born salesman. I mean, he could convince you of anything, not because he was, making you do it. He was so passionate about what he was selling that you just wanted it. There's just no other way to say it. But he didn't want to be the typical traditional life insurance salesman. He had a passion for entertainment, for television. He said, how can I take this otherwise known to be boring business and turn it into something phenomenal by my ability to communicate, whether it's on television, on the big screen, as an advertiser in the movies, whether it was on radio, whether it was writing books, whether it was doing seminars live for people. But he was theatrical, and he made life insurance theatrical. And I think that's one of the things that you and I both fell in love with. Because let's face it, who really grows up saying, I want to be a life insurance salesman?
Right. It's funny because part of one of the ads that he ran with you was in the movie theaters at Movie Co. And growing up in Boca, everyone always went to the movies. Like Friday night was the big movie night. And I especially loved going because when we'd sit there with the trailers and the commercials before the movie started, you'd see you and Pop-Up come on the screen. And now, Dad, you can sell your life insurance. You buy, you live, it pays. And then Grandpa Pop-Up comes on. You live, you buy, it pays. And people were like, that's his grandpa. That's his grandpa. And I was like, I felt like, maybe I didn't want to be an insurance agent, but I wanted to be that. Like I wanted to be that guy. And through life insurance, he was that guy. So it was pretty cool seeing that. And that's what I wanted to be that. And I'm trying.
No question, we all got that bug. And there's no question that with all of those little things, the seeds were planted.
Yeah.
Finally, they sprouted. So now that you're here, you're part of the firm. I know you're really loving what you do. You do realize the difference of school and now business and the difficulties that come with it. but you know the persistence that is there that you have. But tell me now, what is it about the life insurance industry that you find so important, so meaningful, and what is it that you hope to accomplish, not way into the future, but initially with your friends, your peer group, with colleagues, with people that you meet? What is the message that you want to convey, and how do you find that you're going to go about doing that?
Well, the one aspect of life insurance that I really enjoy is the future generational wealth that it can bring. So by buying life insurance, you essentially pay premium, and if something happens to you, if you die, your beneficiaries receive a death benefit. Well, that death benefit is really something important for your family. I mean, that's the future generational wealth. So that was, once I really understood the concept of life insurance, I was like, wow, everyone really needs it.
So you see it as you're just buying money for somebody one day.
Yeah, exactly. As far as the people that I'm talking to, it's people that are my age. I'm turning 26 next week. But it's really for young adults who are planning for their future, young adults who are starting their lives out, people who are having children, people who are buying homes. Life insurance is a way to protect yourself. If God forbid something happens to you, you want to make sure your dependents are taken care of. And you want to make sure that they're not stranded. If God forbid something happens to you and you don't have life insurance, what happens to your wife? What happens to your children? What happens to your spouse? What happens? Life insurance is so important. And even though, it's unappetizing to talk about, people always kind of shoo it away. When people realize how important it is, then the real conversation gets started. When can we start? When can you sell me life insurance? So once I was able to understand why life insurance is so important, it was an easy ticket. It was like, let's discuss life insurance. The thing that I love about my grandfather, what he did so well, was he made it appetizing. So, you talk about how he'll sit there and he'll convince you. It's contagious the way that he was able to promote insurance. It was contagious the way that he was able to take something that wasn't on someone's plate or someone's priority and made it someone's priority. It really is everyone's priority, but bringing it into the light and making it an open conversation, that's what we need to do. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Well, that was beautifully said, and there's no question that connectivity is a major word that is used these days. What I mean by connectivity is that something had to connect with you for you to understand the power of insurance, for you to say, I want to be able to represent this. I want to make sure all the people that are important to me, those that I meet, have this incredible product called life insurance. Something connected with you. And when you started speaking a few minutes ago, you first said how it was money for future generations, generational wealth. You didn't even talk about protection until after that. So what's interesting is what connected with you was, over the years, hearing about different programs that were structured for families, understanding as you got older the kind of money that these families would ultimately receive. And that's what you connected with. Beyond that, you understand, yes, it's a form of protection. You want to make sure everyone that your age, that is getting married, that is buying a home, that has children, you want to make sure they understand the importance of that life insurance and why they need it. Having said that, when we talk about this form of protection, you brought up something earlier before the show when we were talking about how people don't have a choice when it comes to certain types of insurance, whether it be car insurance or maybe renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance. And then there's other choices that people do have, but they buy it. They buy jewelry insurance, schedule on their overall umbrella and homeowner's insurance. They'll buy jewelry insurance. They'll buy fire insurance. They buy all these different insurances. But why? It's for protection. How can you incorporate that within what you're trying to convey to people.
It's almost like mind-boggling. Like, you have a car, you drive a car, you have car insurance. You buy a home, you have homeowners insurance. You buy jewelry, you have jewelry insurance. These are things that are very important to you, clearly, because you got insurance for them. But you have a life. That is hands down the most important thing, because if you don't have a life, you're just not here. There's nothing. There's just nothing. You need life insurance. So it's like, it's almost ironic. It's weird to think that there are all these insurances out there that you have a choice of or that you must have, but the choice to have life insurance results in not having life insurance. You kind of like scratch your head. You're like, what's going on? So when you spin it like that, and you kind of tell people that aspect, people are kind of dumbfounded with themselves. Like, how does that work?
No question. And I do want to just point out, this show is really for my guests, for them to be able to convey their messages, but it's really for the listener. Because as I was always taught by my father, listen with application. There's something that you're going to hear, that just one little nugget that you're going to pull out and see how it applies to your particular situation. And if at the end of the show, we're able to make one positive change in someone's outlook, in someone's thinking, we've succeeded. That's what we're trying to do. So having said that, like you said, you're looking for the 25, 30-year-old, the young person, someone that just got married, bought a home, having kids. What is the message that you're trying to convey, and how can you put it in terms that they will understand? Because let's face it, everything always comes down to a monetary amount. That's number one. Number two, we all know people do not like discussing life insurance because you're talking about your own mortality.
Right.
But we must understand, we are all going to die one day. We just don't know when. So rather than hiding under a rock, what we've always done is just come out, be forthright, and talk about this uncomfortable subject. But at the end of it, after you're done discussing it, look at the accomplishment of what you've created for someone's family that they most probably wouldn't have done had you not been able to get inside of their head for them to understand. Mm-hmm. So how is it that you would be conveying to your peers the importance of insurance? And again, how do we connect, make them understand that they're spending on so many other things? Why not this?
Great question. So it's like protection. I think of protection right away when it comes to people that are my age, young adults, 30, 40-year-olds, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to protect your family. Yes, you want to leave a future generational wealth, but when you put a monetary price to it, it's so cheap for you as a young adult to protect your family. When you see it costs $500 a year, you're thinking to yourself, how don't I just protect my family? You go out to dinner, you go to a casino, you go out, you have fun, you entertain yourself. By the end of the month, you're probably spending over $500, let me tell you. But for a year, $500 for a year, it's like, once again, it's a no-brainer to protect the ones you love. And we all think that, we're promised, we're waking up the next day. How's the next day going to turn out? Well, I hate to break the news, we're not promised tomorrow. So the idea of you having protection on your family, especially for young people, like even me, I mean, I'm 26 years old. I'm a key part to this business. If something were to happen to me, we've lost value in the business. So we buy life insurance so that the business will be the beneficiary for it. So that means,
so not only are you talking about insurance for family protection, any of your peers that are in business and have partners, they should be looking at a key man type of insurance policy. There's so many different aspects, but I also liked what you said about the dinners that people are spending money on, whether maybe they play in a poker game, they go to the movies, whatever. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't enjoy themselves, but when you think in terms of $500 that they may be spending on frivolous entertainment, which isn't frivolous to them, by the way, but did you realize that you might be able to protect up to $1 million for your family for just that $500 a year when you're young and you're looking at term insurance? Sammy, I'm going to make a proposition to you.
Let me hear it.
I want you to create the Sammy Kaye Challenge. It's the $500 Sammy Kaye Challenge. And that challenge should be for you to get to everybody that you know that's in your age range and challenge them to put up $500 a year. Let's not worry about how much life insurance it buys. If you want 20-year term, it might buy $1 million of insurance. If you want 30-year term insurance, it may buy $800,000. If you want 10-year term, it might buy $2 million. The point is, let's put up that challenge and see how many people really react and understand that this is not something that we really have to mull it over. What are we mulling over? When you buy a new car, there was nothing to mull over. You had to get your car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have to have your life insurance for the most basic reasons, like you, Sammy, you've discussed. So I want you to create something with this $500 challenge, the Sammy Kaye Challenge. How does that sound?
I like it. I like it a lot, especially with the Sammy Kaye
We're going
challenge.
to play one game before we end. This has been beautiful, how quickly time flies. But what I want to do each week is talk about success. And I think this is terrific for you. And you've had some time maybe to think about these things because you've heard about it over, the past 6-8 months that you've been with us. We call it the Kaye formula for success, but I'm going to call it everyone's formula for success. And I want to hear what your reactions to certain key words or phrases are. So let's get underway, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
Work ethic.
Work ethic. Working harder than everyone else. I think my grandfather is a perfect example of that. I think he was so successful in his business because no one worked as hard as he did. No one was as passionate as he was. Every day, every person, life insurance.
Education.
Never ending learning. Always taking nuggets and always lending an ear to people just to understand different perspectives, whether it's on insurance or whether it's on life. Just listening.
Becoming an expert.
Becoming an expert. Knowing your field better than anyone else, especially people that aren't even in the field. A lot of times these days, a lot of people think they know what is life insurance and why it's important, but people fail to understand there's so many different reasons to buy insurance. So really knowing the best.
Creativity.
Doing things differently.
Excellent. Communication.
Communication is easily the most important part, I think, to all business. If there's no communication, if there's no way of me conveying a message to you, you're not going to be able to understand what I'm trying to sell.
Marketing. Did we stump you there?
Yeah, we might have. I was going to say creativity, being because we just talked about creativity, but being as creative as possible, especially with an industry that isn't talked about as comfortably as all these other industries. Marketing in a creative way might get people to discuss life insurance in a much more appetizing fashion.
Television, it could be radio, it could be these podcasts, any of that. Terrific. And tell me the importance of relationships.
Well, I think people buy you before they buy your product. If you have a good relationship with someone and someone really not only trusts you, likes you, and thinks you're a good person, it doesn't matter what you're selling. They're going to buy from you no matter what.
Well, it's like my father always taught me, and hopefully I've been able to teach you. It's always about the client, the prospect. Their needs come first. We do a good job. We get paid. But the focus is not on us. It's on our customers. And it's listening to them, what they're interested in, what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to accomplish. And I think all of these things create a beautiful formula for success. So I thank you for participating in that little game that we're going to be doing each week with each of our guests. And we've definitely gone way past the time. But Sammy, you were a great first guest. Tell me, before we close, what is it that you got out of today's podcast, and what is it that you are going to convey to everybody that you know now?
The Sammy Kaye challenge. I challenge everyone. Everyone. I mean, people my age, 20 years older, 30 years older. I challenge you to take action. Buy insurance. Buy life insurance. The cheapest form of insurance. Buy $500,000 of term insurance. $1 million of term insurance. It'll cost you $500, depending on your age. Put $500 in a year. Let's see where it takes you.
Beautifully said. Sammy, I want to thank you for being here. I've already told everyone how proud I am that you're here, and hopefully one day we'll be able to convince your younger brother and sister, Jonah and Jackie, to join up with us so we can have the entire family here. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Ladies and gentlemen, this was our first Die Rich, the podcast show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Sammy, thank you for being such a wonderful guest, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week. Take care now.